Three, two, one. Hi, and welcome to yet another expat. This is episode 11. I have not missed one Monday so far, which has been very painful, but also something that I'm very proud of. Just so you know, I almost miss all Mondays. Okay? No matter what, I'm sticking to the schedule, and every Sunday I do what I have to do to bring this podcast in time. I am still in Greece and I am recording not only from the laptop, not my usual setup. If you're listening to this podcast, you know that by now. But I've also changed spaces, and this space I am right now feels like it has the biggest echo of everywhere I've been in a while. So let's see how this goes. As always, thank you for sticking around and let's get going. So, this last week, I tried rail biking in Greece, which was super cool. And this is something I wanted to bring as an intro to this podcast. I'm not taking any money. This is not an ad. If anything, I paid money. But when I posted this on my Instagram, I got so many replies that said, "What the fuck is this? How do I do it? Was it worth it? Where did you find it?" So, Railbiking Greece is the website, and it's a pretty cool project. So, what they've done, as you might know, the railwork network of Greece is in a really bad state and hugely abandoned. There are rail tracks going all over to southern Greece that are not being used at all, but the tracks are still there. So, this is a company that decided to do rail biking, which is a bike that gets attached on the rails, and you can bike on the rails and look at the landscape and imagine you are the train going through it. It's a really nice activity, and the ones in Greece where they do it, they have chosen a really good part of the tracks of the network because you bike right next to the sea. A few hundred meters, it's you're biking on an elevated, you bike on the mountain, but you are next to the sea, and the field of view is just very, very beautiful. You see the islands, the sea. Right now in spring, there are also flowers around, and it smells really nice. And yeah, it's just a really, really nice activity. Takes about 2 hours with a few stops, and they also you get a guide. Basically, the guide is on the first rail bike, and there are 10 people going through it. So you are all these group driving these bikes. They are very, very comfy. You're laying back on a really nice chair. You only move your legs. Very, very laid back, and they adjust your seat. And yeah, so you go through the tracks. Every now and then you stop. You get a few bits of info about what's around you, an old factory, some fish farms, and yeah, it was worth it. It was nice. It feels very strange. It's a surreal feeling to be on the train tracks and not be in a train. Also, the fact that you are laying so much, you're pretty low, so you feel close to the ground, which gives it a very interesting perspective. Cruising through nature, left and right, with flowers and weeds and the smells of those herbs, looking into the sea and feeling the breeze. So, Railbiking Greece, it's the name of the guys who do it. It's a young company, a bit outside from Athens. But if you combine it with a swim nearby in some of the beaches there, then I think it's a worth activity to try. So this is one thing from the week, but at the moment, you know the mission. The mission is to have Greek Easter with the family of my girlfriend from Germany. So here we are. We had to drive all the way down in the Greek Horio, in the village, to start getting things ready and preparing. And you know, in order to go somewhere, you need to drive. So this is a small advice, a small piece of advice for anyone driving in Greece. And this is useful information because we had to give a disclaimer to my girlfriend's family because they've never driven in Greece, and they will be all renting cars, driving 3 hours from Athens to the village, and thinking into what are some things you need to know on how to drive in Greece, and especially in Athens. So here it goes. Buckle up. Horrible joke. I'm sorry. Okay. One thing that is very, very different when driving in Greece, especially in the cities, is motorbikes. There are a lot of motorbikes, more than most European countries, if all, I would say. I think Greece, in terms of motorbike usage, is closer to some East Asian countries. It's a great means of transportation, is cheap, you feel the wind, it's versatile in a very buzzing traffic full center with no parking spots. So I'm all in. I've been driving a motorbike since I was 18. What I didn't know is that the way that we drive motorbikes here is not the way motorbikes are driven in the rest of Europe. Motorbikes go everywhere. They go between the cars, in front, in the back, on the sides, on the left, on the right. It doesn't matter. If you are driving a car in Greece, you should always think that there is at least one bike either about to pass you or passing you, or just consider yourself always surrounded by motorbikes. Now you might think, how do I switch lanes? And switching lanes in Athens is an extreme sport. It takes a little bit of courage, a little bit of timing, a little bit of luck, but keep looking at your mirrors left and right, and don't be too close to the car next to you. When there are traffic lights and the cars stop, the bikes always drive in between them. And that is something so normal. If you're driving in Greece, you have a motorbike, of course you drive between the car. I still remember the first time in Berlin when I booked one scooter out of this sharing, renting services, the mobile apps. And then I felt so liberated. I started driving the scooter around, and I would get so many honks. People were honking at me. I had no idea why. I was just cruising through. And then I realized every motorbike is behaving like a car. You sit behind the cars, you bypass like a car, and you never drive in between them. This is the norm. Well, in Greece it's not. So make sure you look left and right. Is it stressful? Yes, it's extremely stressful. I would advise you don't drive a car in the city center. And talking about city center, in Greece, there is a lot of honking. Honking is everywhere. It's not just an emergency sound, it's it's a language of its own. I think that if any of you is studying communication or glossology, it would be an interesting one to explore the breadth and depth of Greek honking. It can range from hey, hello, what's up, to things like hey, traffic light is green, do you want to move your ass? To things like you are blocking me, and all sorts of dialects. So you will hear a lot of honking in different frequencies, in different speeds, in different lengths. It can mean a lot of different things, and Greeks really like to honk. So embrace yourself, don't get too stressed, and take it for what it is. You cannot know what it is, but you can just guess. You can guess every honk is a friendly honk. There will be a lot. One more thing, if you're driving in Greece, everywhere else in Europe, if you enter a roundabout, the circle where all the cars are entering and then going to a different direction, the ones in the roundabout have the right of passage. They have priority. You need to wait outside of the circle until you can enter the circle. This is everywhere in Europe besides Greece. So in Greece, if you're entering a roundabout, you have the right of passage. You have the priority. You can just speed through as you enter the roundabout. Everyone in the roundabout needs to stop. Now, this is very counterintuitive I think it's the biggest disclaimer for anyone driving in this country because it's not something you know, it's not something they will tell you, it's just something you will figure out. And I'm not sure how many accidents might be caused this way, but I would guess at least some, because the sheer confidence of the Greek driver driving into the roundabout, knowing that everyone will stop, is quite a thing. So, yes, if you find yourself in the roundabout, if you're inside, you need to stop for every stream of vehicles coming your way. One more thing in the communication language of the Greek drivers is probably the emergency lights usage, what we call the alarms in Greek. Now, this is something that, again, an example of an emergency situation function that is used so broadly that it doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean. In Greece, the emergency lights, the alarms, are used whenever you want to stop for any reason. You want to buy some cigarettes from the periptero, from the kiosk? You just put your car next to it, press the alarms, and go out. Is this an emergency? Well, who's to say? Someone would argue that it's very much an emergency to get your cigarettes or anything else you're taking. You're driving in a 2 lanes road, and all of a sudden you feel an urge for some coffee. Now, this sounds like an emergency. So, you just stay on the right lane, you drive close to a coffee place, you start the emergency lights, your alarms, you go out, you go get your coffee. Now, someone would ask, what happens to all of the other cars behind you in this 2 lane street that now has become a 1 lane street? The answer is very simple. They can go fuck themselves. They need to merge these 2 lanes into 1 lane because someone needed a coffee. And the sense of entitlement of the Greek driver is one of the things you cannot beat. It's one of the strongest powers of the universe. If we could use the sense of entitlement of the Greek driver as a building block, we would have solved the construction crisis in Greece. And there is a lot of solidarity in that. So if you're driving on a road that has a lot of coffee places on the right, you will notice that it's not just one car using their emergency lights to go get a coffee, but probably they have other comrades joining them in this venture, parking their cars in the middle of the street with the alarm lights until they can get their coffee and go back. So, if you're driving in a 2 lane street, don't think you have 2 lanes. It's always a gamble. Now, one more thing, other than using the emergency lights for every single stop you want to make, is the limit. Of course, the limit that you see on the speed is the upper limit, but honestly, in Greece, it's just the minimum limit. You know, it's the minimum you need to be driving to not be called floros. Floros is like a, what does the internet say? Floros is a nerd or a snowflake. It's basically someone who is lame. So in Greece, the upper limit you see is basically a recommendation and usually just the minimum limit. So you will see a lot of people driving past that, especially in the city, especially in late hours. And speaking of, during Friday and Saturday, you can avoid driving, especially from midnight onwards, because the alcohol limit, that sounds to be, again, the minimum limit for some people where it starts, because drunk driving is a thing and accidents happen, and people, alcohol makes you more aggressive. It gives you a false sense of confidence. Now, compare a false sense of confidence with the strongest sense of entitlement, and you get a power combo that you don't want to mess with. But someone would say, if you are taking so many risks, then at least you are keeping yourself safe. Well, you will see that a lot of the Greek motorbikes do not wear helmets. This has improved, I have to say, in the latest years. And you see less and less motorbike drivers having their helmet in their hands. They're not protecting their elbows, if you see that. They just have two nice hairlines to be bothered to put it on. But one more thing that happens in cars in Greece quite a lot is that somehow people in the back don't wear seatbelts. It's just not part of the culture. I cannot explain why, but this is how it has been always when I was growing up, and it still happens so much. The people in the front are wearing a seatbelt, and the people in the back just don't. It's just too inconvenient, I guess. And I put myself in all of these things, by the way. I have been, all of the behaviors I've described, I have also done them. This is not about me. This is not about you. This is about making sure if someone is driving in Greece for the first time, they know what's coming to them. Now, I think the last thing I'll say is driving in the center of Athens or any big city. This is the final stage. This has all of the difficulties we discussed combined. It's the final stage, the final boss, the dragon you need to slay. The streets are in bad condition. There are potholes around. You might be driving and all of a sudden you hit a pothole or another one. There are bikers going to be left and right. Everyone is angry. Everyone is busy. Everyone is late. So it will be choir of honking and swearing and hand gestures. The moment the light turns green, everyone will start shouting. And it's a bit like Formula. In Formula you start go-karting. Go-karting is driving in the Greek countryside. And then once you get more into things, you go to Formula 3. And then if you're a good driver, you can try to get to Formula 2. And very, very few drivers can make it in Formula 1. If you're in Formula 2, you could be the best driver and still go to Formula 1 and fail. And this is the center of the city of Athens. Just because you can drive well, do not think that it's going to be a breeze. Combine that with super narrow streets, inexistent parking. If you want to park in the center of Athens, you need to probably use another dimension. You can park in the time, you need to break the time space continuum and find yourself some extra space to fit a car. And if all that goes well, you could still have your car scratched because the street is too narrow and someone else didn't make it. Lastly, if you're driving in Greece going to different locations, we have tolls. Tolls is a way for Greeks to pay money to the few oligarchs that are friends with the government and can take the contracts for managing the highway systems forever and cash out on their investment in bribing and corruption. I may sound extreme, but apparently Greece is too busy building other great things to be able to have its own highway system. So all of the main highways that have been paid again and again by tax money are given to private entities who are charging tolls every few kilometers. So, on top of the gas prices, which are usually trending in the top 5 of Europe, you get the tolls as well. Well, you can pay with card, cash, or even a device on your car. So, have no fear. If you find one of these in front of you, the only certain thing is that you will pay again and again and again. I think to come to the summer house, I passed through 7 different toll centers. And every time there is a person working there extending a POS to me, and I say, "Thank you, have a great day." And I imagine they must have so much good luck if everyone wishes them a good day. It's the shortest interaction ever. So thousands and thousands of people have this interaction every day passing through the tolls. If karma works, they must have a lot of karma points. But maybe not everyone is as nice as me. Maybe people are annoyed for paying tolls, and instead of bringing their anger where they should, they take it on these poor people working in one of the most boring jobs in the world in a cubicle, just extending their hand. hundreds and hundreds of times per day. And this is a different problem that maybe I bring in another one, that you can see how the anger, this collective anger and sense of injustice and stress and pressure coming from the socioeconomic stage, coming from austerity, coming from seeing the corruption and the nepotism again and again, how it all boils, and then it's always targeted sideways. People always let it out on the ones around them. On the first chance you will get, on the first interaction on the street, when you feel that someone has cut you off or taking something small from you, all of that anger is released there. All of that tension is released there. And I find it such an unfair thing, or all of this anger and stress and immense pressure that people are put on because of governments, failure of state, and just lack of a social agenda. All those suppressed feelings are being so often expressed and taken out to the ones around us sideways instead of upwards. But don't worry, this is not one of those episodes, but one day we will stick it to the system. For now, I'll just do a closure in this podcast so you can go back to whatever it is you were avoiding doing, finish washing these plates, doing one more set of exercise, biking to work, or cleaning your house, and I will get into what needs to be done on my end. As a last thing, I want to say that the scammers are still trying to find me. I'm still getting these messages on Telegram. These weird business looking Asian women are adding me all the time. They're super kind. They want to tell me how to make a lot of money. I keep saying no, but they just want me to make more money, which I guess is fair. Who wouldn't? I know so many people that have money and all they want to do is to share it with people, share the secrets. I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos just walks around the Amazon factory where people are working crazy like robots until robots can work crazy and then they're out, not catching a breath, peeing in a bottle, and he's just like, hey, let me tell you how I made all this money. Here, have some of it. But anyway, I started becoming more aggressive to these scammers. I started telling them, hey, I know you're in a scammer farm. I can help you get a real job. Just message me these 4 emojis if you want a way out of this. This has been a very quick way to stop getting messaged. Let's see what happens. Maybe I do create a secret bond with one of them, get them to reveal who they are. But I think wasting their time is the best way to realize they need to take me out of these lists. And now I will get on with trying to get Wi-Fi everywhere in this apartment, get on with writing the lists with all the things that need to be done, from counting the sheets, collecting the cleaning supplies, buying the lamps, and all sorts of things to prepare for the glorious Easter. And as a last teaser, I'm here on my first day. You know, I started an allergy treatment some time ago. I am here for round two. Dear nature, I am back. So far, so good. I had a few sneezes here and there, but compared to last year when I was making chamomile 3 times a day, infusing it to my face, spending 5 minutes on top of a big chamomile tea, just sniffing and crying, it seems that maybe that time is behind us, but I will only know in the next month when the nature's blossoming orgasm reaches its climax. But I'm here, I'm ready, my eyes are wide open, and let's see how that goes. So, I'm wishing you a great, great week ahead. Keep rowing or working or whatever it is that you're doing. I hope you can catch a little bit of sun. I hope you can find some quiet moments. I hope your phone shuts down for 10 minutes due to an accident. that doesn't cause you any stress, that gives you a bit of peace of mind. That was a bizarre wish, but you know what I'm saying. You get it. Okay, ciao.